Catherine's like, it's amazing. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. I know I missed you guys last week for our Vampire Diaries video. It was my bachelorette weekend, so that's where I was. This week though, I think we have some good episodes to make up for it. We're kind of closing the Silas arc, and then we're gonna have some weird stuff happen in the middle, and then we're closing it out with one of my favorite, it probably is, it's like my favorite backstory that we have with like my favorite character, and we're gonna meet someone else who I really love and I have been dying to talk about. I'm so excited for him to finally be here. Ah! Did anybody see Barbie? I need to know because we haven't been able to go see it yet. If you've seen Barbie, please tell me, was it good? Did you love it? I'm trying to avoid like spoilers. I don't even really know what the movie is fully about yet. I've just been seeing the TikTok trend of everybody posting like, my kin does this, this is what my kin does, and I think it's so cute and I want to do it really bad, but I'm afraid my partner is actually an Alan and not a Ken. So I have to see the movie first before I make that decision. Okay, I think that's enough rambling. Let's get into the vampires. Episode 7 opens with one of my like absolute favorite, like the couple dies in the beginning like 30 seconds of the episode. I love this scene. It's so good. It's a couple sitting at a bus stop with Silas, and he's got like his neck bandaged because, you know, Amara attacked him and drank his blood. So he's like got a bloody bandage on his neck, and he's all like crestfallen and sad and just like mopey, and he starts talking to them and he's like, so are you guys like in love? Are you like together? And the girl's like, uh-huh, yeah, we are. And the guy's like, yeah, buddy, like we're a couple. And Silas just like keeps picking on them and like making fun of them, and he's like, I was in love once. You know that TikTok sound? I think it's from SpongeBob, where it's like, I lost something once. That's what's going on here. Same energy. He's just being like such an ass. And then all of a sudden, he freaking liquefies the boy. Like the boy just out of nowhere starts like coughing up blood. And Silas has already told them like the rundown of like, I'm a witch, I'm immortal, my girlfriend was immortal, and then she went crazy and now she doesn't want me anymore and everything's ruined. So they thought he was making it up. And now the boyfriend is like throwing up his organs, and Silas is like, oh yeah, I think I'm liquefying him from the inside. The girl starts freaking out and trying to like help the boy, and then Silas is like, be careful, like you could be next, and she runs away, and Silas is like, oh, look at that. See, love is so fickle, I told you. And he like picks the boy up and leaves him there dying in the bus stop and just gets on the bus and goes home. It's just so good. Paul Wesley is acting in this scene, and it's so funny. It's like peak Paul Wesley humor in this moment. It's so good. Okay, so Stefan got his memories back. So he's having like weird nightmare memory flashback situations. He wakes up to Elena calling him, and she's in his room with coffee. And she's like, listen, I've been thinking, you know, what if we just quit trying to like force you to remember me, and instead we just start over because we were friends once, like we can be friends again. Let's just start from scratch. And that's when he reveals, actually, I know everything. Ketsia gave me my memories back. Surprise. She's like, this is incredible news. I'm so excited. Damon is kind of like, I want to know what the catch was. And he's like quizzing Stefan, making sure Stefan actually got all his memories. He did. The unfortunate thing is that because he got them all back, like all at once, he remembers all of the bad along with the good. And the bad was like all of that PTSD from being in the safe and all of the like horrible memories of drowning. You know, so he's really struggling, but he doesn't really let them know how bad it is. They hear banging, and Stefan's like, what's that noise? And Damon's like, oh, you need to meet the resident crazy pants. He brings them downstairs to the cellar. They've got Amara locked up. She's freaking out. She keeps saying like, I don't know, don't tell me, don't look at me, leave me alone. And Damon's like, yeah, we gotta make sure she doesn't do anything, but it's hard because she keeps trying to off herself. And then sure enough, they hear like a munching sound. Damon goes running in. Amara's trying to chew off her wrists. The whole episode, we're going to be talking about that quite a bit because it's a theme right now. I'm sorry. Jeremy and Bonnie are kind of on opposite sides on if the other side spell switcheroo is going to work. Bonnie's just trying to like make peace with crossing over. Jeremy's holding out hope that Silas is going to help them. They just have to wait for Silas to come home. Maxfield did all the tests that Catherine asked him to do, and technically she's fine. She is dying, but it's actually just age catching up with her because she was a vampire for so long. Now she's a human. Time's just catching up and she's gonna die of old age. Silas calls Damon and is like, you know, I've decided that I'm okay with Amara dying because if Amara dies, the other side will come down and then I can die, we can still be together, it'll all work, I don't really care, let her die, it is what it is. Then he says that he's still mad at Damon for that time Damon laughed at him in the warehouse. So he's not gonna help with Bonnie anymore, goodbye, and he just hangs up. Caroline's still looking for Jesse. Remember, he's being tortured by Maxfield. Caroline doesn't know that yet. Nadia shows up looking for Catherine because Catherine's been staying at the dorm with the girls. Then Catherine shows up and is like, Nadia, what are you doing here? I left on purpose. And Nadia's like, sit down, Catherine. And she like uses her vampire powers to force Catherine to sit down so that they can talk. Elena wants to hide Amara away and like keep her alive so that they can force Silas into doing what they want. Stefan is dark and emo now, so he's like, I have to kill Silas or I'm never gonna recover from my PTSD. Jeremy takes food to Amara and she's like, I know you. And he's like, no you don't. She's like, you're the hunter. I never forget a face. She knows that Silas killed Jeremy and Jeremy's like, well, yeah, he did, but I came back, like I'm back now, I'm a human again. Bonnie is there listening, and this is when they figure out that Amara, as the anchor to the other side, has like a foot in their world and a foot in the other side. So she can like see both because she can see Jeremy and Bonnie can touch her when Bonnie can't touch regular humans. So Amara's like half and half. She's like kind of a spirit, kind of a regular human. She's floating in between. So Jeremy gets the bright idea that if Silas won't bring Bonnie back, maybe they can like switcheroo Amara and Bonnie, and then Silas and Amara can have what they want and die, and Bonnie can have what she wants and come back, and the other side can stay intact. Damon goes to Ketsia because he's hoping that she hates Silas so much that she'll be willing to help them instead. Ketsia explains that yes, she'll do it, she would love nothing more, but she's gonna need something really powerful in order to channel enough power for the spell because it's not a full moon, there's no like natural occurring phenomenon going on. She asks for doppelgangers and Damon's like, oh my god, I have 3 of them ready to go. Once again, Stefan is pretty set on killing Silas because the memories at this point, as the episode goes on, he's going crazier and crazier and he can't get a handle on the PTSD. Before she starts the spell, Ketsia talks to Amara and like forces her to apologize. At this point, Amara's been suffering for 2,000 years, so she's like, I am sorry. Like, my crime was falling in love and I ruined all of our lives. I'm miserable. I'm begging you. You win. Please just kill me. And Ketsia is like, don't worry, I will. And she's got like the strangest tone of voice in this scene. The actress that plays her, they said, we want you to be unhinged, and she said, you got it. But yeah, Ketsia has now fully agreed. The second she switches Bonnie and Amara, she's gonna kill Amara. Catherine is needed for the doppelganger situation, so Caroline snatched her away from Nadia. Nadia just wanted to know why Catherine had abandoned her again. Catherine got out of that conversation because Caroline was like, we need doppelgangers, let's go. Catherine gets to Ketsia and is like, I will give you my blood, but only if you help me and stop this aging situation because I don't want to die. And Ketsia's like, yeah, absolutely, I can do that for you. The spell requires blood from Amara, Elena, and Catherine. It ends up like dripping onto the parchment that Ketsia is using and like making a Celtic knot, which is kind of cool. Once she starts the spell, things go very wrong. The power starts to go out, there's a storm, there's wind, the windows are rattling. and they realize that Silas is messing with them. Damon comes running in with a flashlight and he's like, Silas owes me a new fuse box. What's going on? And they realize that Amara is missing. Ketsia is carrying a candelabra around because she is dramatic as fuck. You can count on her to be dramatic and petty in every single scene she's in. She is consistent. She finds Silas in the library. They get into a magic fight. It's very violent. He's being really mean to her. She's very unsettled by him because he's scary. He says he feels sorry for her, that she still can't let things go. And she's like, but I loved you. And he's like, yeah, get in line. Like, he's the worst. Then Stefan calls, so Silas ends up stabbing Ketsia, so she is like mortally wounded, and then Stefan calls Silas and is like, I have Amara and I'm gonna run away with her and keep her safe unless you come meet me right now. Silas agrees because he doesn't want Amara to not die, because he wants to die, and if they don't die together, then they can't be together in the afterlife. The wound from Catherine giving her blood won't heal, and Caroline tries to give her blood to heal her, and it doesn't work. So whoever's like had the cure in them cannot be remade into a vampire or healed with vampire blood. Like, you're just screwed. You're just a human and you're immune to being fixed. Elena finds and saves Ketsia before she can bleed out because Elena is dead set on doing the Bonnie switching spell. Silas finds Amara in the woods and saves her. They're both crying. It's a very emotional reunion for the two of them because at this point, now they're both like fairly lucid and like aware of what's going on and what the other one's been through. So this is a really good high emotion scene. Amara is like, I love you, I still love you, but I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm begging you, like, please end it for me. Silas is like, I understand, like, I want to help you. And he pulls out a hunting knife and puts it to her throat. He's hesitating, and before he can do it, because she is like quite literally begging him, she's like, I'm ready, please, I want to go. Stefan shows up and attacks Silas, and they get into a fight. Somehow, Stefan manages to get the knife off the ground and freaking guts Silas. Like, he gets the upper hand and stabs him, and Silas dies. So Amara is freaking out in the woods, screaming, crying, throwing up, and Stefan's just standing there with a dead doppelganger. Ketsia starts the spell again. So Amara is like over Silas's body saying goodbye to him. And Damon's running to find Amara, and right as he finds her, she stabs herself too so that she'll die with Silas. So he's distraught because they need Amara to be alive long enough for Ketsia to do the spell. And they're like, frick, if she dies while Ketsia's doing the spell, it's not going to be quick enough, and the other side's just going to come down, and Bonnie's going to be free, but a ghost still? That's not what we wanted. So Bonnie goes to Jeremy and is like, it's not working. I'm not going to come back. Amara's dying. I'm sorry. Jeremy tells her the thing that from the start of the episode he didn't want to tell her yet. He was like, I have 3 things I want to tell you. 2 of them were kind of lame. The third one is I love you. So now they love each other. He goes to touch her and he can touch her. He touches her on the face and he's like, what happened? And they realize the spell freaking worked. Elena's like, Bonnie? And the girls come running in and they can see Bonnie and they all start crying and hugging. Caroline is like, oh my God, now we can be roommates. And Bonnie and Elena are like, Caroline. And she's like, I'm sorry. She's so cute. I love her. So yeah, Bonnie's back. It worked. Jeremy and Bonnie kiss by the fire and it's pretty steamy. I'm not gonna lie. Catherine goes to Ketsia to get the spell that she was promised, because remember, Ketsia said she'd make her immortal again. But Ketsia is like, yeah, I'm not doing that. It was immortality that got us in this mess in the first place. Like, maybe it's just your time. And then she's like, I'm the winner. I won. I don't have to do anything else. And that's when Catherine realizes that there is a lot of blood on the floor. Because Ketsia kind of snapped and, you know, not good. Unsavable. So Catherine tries to save her, but Ketsia dies. So we lost all of them. We lost Silas, Amara, and Ketsia in one evening. Bonnie is still standing in front of the fire, and then Ketsia shows up behind her, and Bonnie's like, what are you doing in here? What's going on? Ketsia explains that now that Bonnie's the anchor, every spirit that's supernatural that passes through to get to the other side has to go through Bonnie in order to get there. Because remember, Bonnie is like 1 foot in the real world, 1 foot in the spirit world. So they have to go through Bonnie like a door and then get into the other side. And when it happens, Bonnie will feel how they died. So Ketsia is like, this is gonna hurt. hurt like a bitch, and then grabs onto Bonnie, and Bonnie just starts screaming. She's in a house full of vampires, and no one comes to check on her. That is a plot hole. Stefan is burying Silas. Elena goes to Stefan and wants him to confirm that killing Silas worked, and now he feels better. And Stefan is just kind of like, I wanted it to be you, you know? When the safe opened and I was rescued, I wanted it to be you. I wanted it to be both of you. And we see Damon standing behind Elena. Catherine comes to get her things from the dorm room, and Caroline tries to be nice to her and be like, you know, you got us Bonnie back, thank you so much. Catherine ruins it by being like, stuff it, Blondie. I also tried to kill you. I tried to kill Elena. I'm not a good person. Don't start acting like I am. And Caroline's like, okay, got it. Then Nadia comes and is like, Catherine, I already packed your bag. I want you to come with me to Europe. We're gonna start over. We're gonna do our life together. Like, we're gonna go visit Bulgaria and see all of our old favorite spots. That's what we're gonna do. You're coming with me, let's go. And Catherine puts her foot down and is like, Nadia, I don't want anything to do with you. Take a good look at my face. This is the last time you're gonna see me. I'm doing you a favor, which is so sad because Nadia is immortal and Catherine is dying. So Catherine could give her like the last couple months of her life, because at this point she only has months to live. She could give her that and they could go have a fun time and be a family until she goes. But no, we go back to Stefan and he is now like frantically throwing dirt on Silas. It's not going well. He's very upset, and clearly whatever he was dealing with at the start of the episode, getting his memories back, is only getting worse. Episode 8 takes us back to poor freaking Jesse. He's not doing great. Maxfield has been experimenting on him this entire time. So he's been missing. No one knows where he is. He's been with Maxfield and it's not good. Whatever Maxfield's been doing to him, he's smarter and stronger now. So he ends up like biding his time and then breaking out and attacking Maxfield and getting out of the lab. Bonnie does a nice little AT&T promo and calls her mom. She has not told Abby what's actually going on, i.e. she's a ghost anchor hybrid thing. The girls are like, you have to tell her, like, she's gonna realize you're not a witch anymore because now Bonnie doesn't have any magic. That sucks. Bonnie says she will, she's just waiting. She's not quite ready to tell the truth yet. She just feels like it's a little overwhelming to do that over the phone. They're also planning a really big party for Bonnie now that she's back and finally at school. Jeremy and Bonnie are like kind of a weird secret couple in this episode. I don't really love the way this part of the arc is written because it doesn't make a lot of sense. Elena and Caroline even know that she's with Jeremy and they like make jokes about her being like, oh, I'm gonna go register for classes. And Caroline and Elena start like making kissy faces, implying that they know that Bonnie's actually going to Jeremy. It's just weird because Bonnie's just kind of like, I'm not ready to like rub it in Elena's face yet. And Jeremy's like, she literally knows though. Like, we all know. Elena's inviting everybody to the party, including Damon and Stefan. Damon's down to go because like free booze party, he's gonna come. But he's like, don't count on Stefan. You know, he's Mr. Moody again and he hates us. So I don't think he's gonna come to that. Stefan's having horrible PTSD flashbacks, like horrible, okay? If you've ever had like a panic spiral or a PTSD moment where you go somewhere else, he's doing that, but he's a vampire, so he's like clawing into the furniture and breaking things. There's a trend of him in this episode where he keeps like breaking glasses in his hand and like cutting his hand open. He's just not doing great. Matt's at the grill trying to learn Czech so he can figure out what was being said on that video he took of himself. Remember how somebody called Gregor in Matt's body and said something and then Gregor answered? He's like trying to figure out what that means. Catherine's there and she's like, oh, I can speak that language. Let me help you, Maddie. And he's like, no, I don't want your help. And she's like, let me do this for you. I don't mind. I'm bored. She's like, ooh, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you, my boy, are possessed by a traveler. They're a branch of witches and they suck. Also, by any chance, is the girl that you're talking about that like helped this happen to you, is her name Nadia? And Matt's like, yeah, that was her. And Catherine's like, It's amazing. Jesse finally calls Caroline. So she's like, hi, stranger, where have you been? I missed you. And he's just like, Caroline, please, I need help. I need you to come to my room. My roommate's gonna be back any second. Help me. And Caroline's like, oh my God, okay, I'm coming. And she takes off to go after him. We cut to Jesse in his room. Y'all wanna take a guess at who his roommate is? That's right. It's Aaron. So Aaron is in danger. Jesse's hungry and he attacks Aaron, but before he can kill him, Caroline shows up and is like, what is going on? Who turned you into a vampire? Jesse explains all about Maxfield and what was being done to him, and he's so confused. He's like, what do I tell my family? What am I gonna do? Caroline keeps him calm and is like, we're gonna figure this out. It's gonna be okay. Like, I'm a vampire too. It's all right. I'll explain everything. You're gonna be fine. He didn't kill Maxfield. Also, by the way, he just locked him in the lab once he got away. Elena comes over with blood bags and they give Jesse some blood so he's not hungry anymore. And they're like, it's totally normal that you attacked Aaron. You know, you're gonna be okay. We can help you get it under control. Don't worry. They teach him how to heal Aaron with his blood, which is really sweet. And so he realizes like being a vampire is not all bad and he doesn't need to be afraid of it. Catherine switches tactics from being a little flirty with Matt to being flirty with Stefan. He's not really having it because he came to the grill to drink alone and forget his PTSD problems, and she's like, why don't you drink alone with me and we can like help each other. You can just tell me what you're dealing with and I'm so drunk I won't remember it. He does end up agreeing to drink with her and he owns up about his PTSD and everything he's struggling with. She's like, okay, well, I can help you fix that. If you'll help me with the Matt situation, I can fix your PTSD, guaranteed. If it's not clear, Catherine is basically just sad and moody because now she knows she's dying. So she's just trying to like do a lot of like quote unquote like good things and like spend her time well. This is when Catherine introduces Stefan to Nadia, and for the first time she's basically like, this is Nadia, my daughter. She doesn't normally do that. Normally she like lets it slip out differently. Caroline knows, but now this is the first time she's like, this is my kid. And Stefan's like, you're what now? So Bonnie and Jesse talk at the party and he's like, okay, so you're not a vampire. And she's like, no, but I was a witch and now I'm like the anchor to the other side. Like, it's a long story, Jesse. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna fit right in. Don't worry about it. Also, let me like dump on you about my like basically boyfriend, not boyfriend situation. It becomes weird because it's like, is Jesse flirting with Bonnie even though he likes Caroline? No, it's just written poorly and she should be having this conversation with literally anyone else, but for some reason they made her have it with Jesse. She says, you know, he's my best friend's little brother, so it's just kind of weird, but I think I'm madly in love with him. Girl, we know you quite literally sacrificed your life on Earth to bring him back from the dead. Like, we have known this whole time. Where have you been? Elena sent Damon to talk to Maxfield to get more information about what happened to Jesse, and Caroline's like, oh, okay, so he's gonna kill him, right? And Elena's like, no, he's just gonna talk to him, Caroline. And Caroline's like, do you know who you're dating? Like, are you aware of who you're dating, Elena? Because I don't think you are. I don't think you have a very clear picture of who Damon actually is. And Elena tries to be like, look, Caroline, I know you don't like Damon. I know you don't like me dating him. And Caroline's like, no, that's not what I said. You can date whoever you want, but I'm gonna need you to own up to who you're dating because Damon sucks. It's not even so much that Damon sucks to Caroline. It's just that, like, I think Caroline is one of the people that has the most clear picture of like what Damon's willing to do to get what he wants, and Elena is pretty blinded by loving him, just like me. I'm also biased, okay? I know where Elena's coming from, but I hear Caroline. And in this episode specifically, I think Caroline does a really good job of actually saying what she's been trying to say the entire time, because in the beginning it does feel like she's just like, Elena, Damon's gross, don't date Damon, that's icky, and it's just kind of annoying. But now she has more time to like flesh out her argument and it makes more sense. Catherine and Nadia bring Stefan and Matt into the back room of the grill. Nadia makes Gregor come forward into Matt's consciousness so that they can see him and talk to him, so his eyes do the black thing, and Stefan's like, what? He tries to run up on Catherine, but Stefan doesn't let him do that. Gregor is like, we were here to track and kill Silas. And Catherine's like, oh, okay. And why do you need this? And she shows him the knife. And that's when Gregor freaks out and also admits that, okay, yes, they were going to kill Catherine. And Nadia realizes, so were we never actually in love? Like you were just using me and a relationship with me to get to Catherine because I was looking for her? Excuse me? And Catherine is like, I told you, Nadia, the travelers are all a bunch of liars and they're never gonna tell you the truth. They're always gonna have their own hidden agendas. And then she stabs Matt in the gut. It doesn't kill Matt, like Matt will be fine, but it does kill Gregor. So Nadia is very upset. That's why the knife is so important. That's why Gregor was like, guard this with your life, Matt Donovan. My friends will come for it one day. Because the knife is the only thing that can kill a traveler witch. Damon has been torturing Maxfield. So when Elena was like, he's not gonna kill him, he's not gonna hurt him, he's just gonna talk to him. No, Damon's been slowly injecting Maxfield with the infectious diseases that Maxfield has in his lab. So he gave him a flesh-eating bacteria, he gives him rabies, and at this point, Maxfield's still not talking. Earlier in the episode, Bonnie had seen an old woman spirit and like let that woman go through her, and it had obviously hurt again. She sees that same woman at the party and goes to talk to her, and she's the sweetest little old lady. She's a witch, and she knows who Bonnie is, and she's like talking to her. She apologizes for having hurt Bonnie when she passed through her, and she's like, but I want you to know, like, the pain's all gone now, like you took it from me, and I'm just here and I'm having a good time, and it's so nice to like have a friendly face over here with me. And Bonnie just smiles, and it brings Bonnie some peace, knowing that like even though it hurt her, she's helping the spirits when she lets them cross over. Jesse and Caroline are getting all cute while they dance together, which is again why I don't think he should have been having that weird flirty conversation with Bonnie. That didn't make any sense. Maxfield is 100% dying at this point, and before Damon can give him another injection, he's like, okay, I'll tell you. And he admits that he was basically running tests on Jesse and like doing things to him to like make him a different kind of vampire. Augustine, the group that Maxfield works for, they want their vampires to crave vampire blood and not human blood. So you can see how this could be a problem for Caroline. So Caroline and Jesse are kissing, and he kisses her neck, and we see like the facial reaction, you know, the veins and everything, and then they go to kiss again and he bites her, and Caroline's like, that hurt, let's maybe not do that in the middle of the party, okay? And Jesse starts freaking out because he realizes, like, for whatever reason, he wanted to bite Caroline and he doesn't know why that happened, so he goes running off. So Aaron does come to the party, and him and Elena are talking. They bond over how much family they've lost. He ends up saying that pretty much everyone in his life that is a family member has been killed. The most recent was his Aunt Sarah that died over the summer before they came to school. And Elena is like, oh, so how did your parents die? And he's like, oh, they were killed by bears. Bears broke into their campsite and killed them, and for some reason they didn't kill me. And Elena's like, so vampires killed your family? Oh no. She rushes off and calls Damon and is like, you have to promise me you're not gonna kill Maxfield. Damon was definitely going to, but he agrees not to because Elena asks him that. She just doesn't want Aaron to end up losing all of his family, because at this point Maxfield is the only guardian that he has left. So if they take Maxfield from him, Aaron's just alone. Stefan has another PTSD moment at the bar. He breaks another glass in his hand and like stumbles outside. Catherine follows him, and even when he's like, Catherine, leave me alone, she won't. She tries to talk him down, but the thing that's happening with Stefan is that every moment that he's having where he's having these flashbacks, his anger's coming out, so he ends up like grabbing Catherine by the throat. And then she says, start listing your victims. Like, tell me the first person you killed. I don't get that, and I don't get why it works, because he starts doing that and then he stops hurting her and like comes back to himself. I understand the concept of what she was going for. I just think it would have made more sense, especially given what she tries later, to make him list like his loved ones or something, because the whole thing with him is that his PTSD is bringing out his negative emotions. So you would think that listing the deaths that he's been the cause of would just bring up like his guilt and shame and make him angrier. That's just a me thing though. It's just always felt weird that that's what she goes to for him, and the fact that it works. So Damon's basically planning on just like getting the vervain out of Maxfield at this point, and then healing him and compelling him and just making him forget what happened. Before he can do that, Jesse comes in. Damon had cut his arm to give Maxfield his blood, so Jesse smells that and goes after him. Damon is like, buddy, I don't know what they taught you in your training, but I'm older and therefore stronger than you, so back down. That's not true though, because whatever Maxfield did to Jesse, now Jesse's like super strong, so he starts like killing Damon. They end up in the hallway. Jesse is like chewing on Damon's neck and drinking from him. Elena shows up and is like, Jesse, you have to stop. What are you doing? Damon is like, Elena, he's gonna rip my head off. You have to stop him. So Elena freaking breaks, I think, part of a table or a chair and stabs Jesse, and he dies. It's so sad. She stabs him. He like comes back to himself in the pain. Caroline comes running right at that moment, and then Jesse collapses on the floor. Caroline's holding him, and she's like, Jesse, no, it's okay. Like, stay with me, it's okay. But no, he dies. Elena and Damon try to explain like he was too far gone, he was gonna kill Damon. It doesn't make it any easier on Caroline, and Elena is like, Caroline, I'm so sorry, like I wish I wouldn't have had to do it. And Caroline ends up being like, I'm so sorry too, Elena, because the old Elena wouldn't have done it. Like, they wouldn't have given up on Jesse. We told him we were gonna help him. Catherine left a note for Nadia at the grill, and it's an S-word goodbye note, but Stefan finds it. Catherine's up on the freaking clock tower about to jump. That's why she was trying to have such a good day and like be helpful for Stefan, because she was planning on it being her last day. She jumps, but then Stefan catches her. At this point, she's just ready to go because she doesn't want to like crumble into dust and like die of old age. That just feels like so not her. And Stefan is like, I don't know if you know this, but you're Catherine Pierce. Suck it up. And it works. He walks away and she like turns and watches him and is like smiling with her like old Catherine smirk. So he brought her back. Jeremy goes to see Bonnie. I don't know where, because boy is still in high school and they are definitely on campus, but it does not look like her dorm room with the girls. I'm not sure where they are. They're hooking up, and then all of a sudden Bonnie sees Jesse standing in the corner of the room, and she's like, oh my God. And Jeremy's like, what? What's wrong? What is it? And she's like, I think Jesse's dead. And Jeremy's like, what are you talking about? She walks over to him and he's like, I'm not ready. I don't want this. And she's like, it's gonna be okay. And she takes his hands anyway, and his death goes through her, so she screams. And Jeremy's like, what on earth was that? And she has to explain to him the situation with the spirits passing through her. And he's like, Bonnie, how often a day does this happen? And she's like, oh, quite frequently, actually. But she says that if the consequence for him being able to come back and them being able to be together is her having to deal with this, it is what it is, and they hook up for real. Caroline and Elena have one more conversation where Caroline apologizes and is like, I know I was harsh after what happened to Jesse. I'm just sad because I wish you could see that you are different now, and like Damon's made you different, and Damon is the reason why our lives are so dangerous. Like, most people's lives aren't like this, and yet yours is, because you're connected to the boys and you won't let Damon go. Elena's like, okay, tell me how you really feel, Caroline. And Caroline's like, yeah, I'm going to. Like, the day I stop doing that and stop telling you how I feel is the day we're not best friends anymore. It's really sweet, and Caroline's like really growing up and maturing and learning how to use her words. Damon's in the office with Maxfield, once again trying to drain him and compel him. In the fridge, he finds a blood bag labeled 12144, and he's like, what is this? What is this and why do you have it? And Maxfield is like, why do you care? We zoom in on Damon and he's like, because I was 21051. Damon was an Augustine vampire. It triggers all these memories for him, and unlike Stefan's, which were kind of like flashing in and out. Damon's are like ting, 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 ting. Like they make like a knife sound, almost like they're like sliding into place behind his eyes. They're very intense and very scary. Damon comes out of it and is like, ooh, change of plans. You do unfortunately have to die. But Maxfield took the time when Damon was having his little memory situation to get out of the chair and run. He gets to the like panic room button, he presses it, and vervain starts pouring out of the ceiling, and Damon gets knocked unconscious. Maxfield's standing over him and he's like, I'm sure Augustine will be thrilled to have you back. The last scene is Damon waking up in a cell with all those memories like ting, 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 flickering around him again. And in the cell on the wall are his initials, like carved in with a fingernail. Are you serious? Oh no. Episode 9 is where like my favorite backstory arc starts, and I'm very excited to talk about it. This is a good one. Do you guys remember talking about sexy leather jacket Damon in the 80s? Remember that? Remember this? I present to you sexy leather jacket Damon in the 50s. Oh my God, that does something for me. Anytime this boy wears leather jackets, I'm down for it. So we open with Damon in 1953 coming home to the Salvatore house. His ancestor's there waiting for him, and while they're talking, the ancestor like shoots him up with vervain. Damon's like, what are you doing? What's going on? And he's like, sorry, Damon, the money was too good to pass up. Then Damon kills him, and another man, a doctor, comes in and is like, oh, thanks for doing that. Now I don't have to pay him. That doctor is a guy named Dr. Whitmore, like Whitmore House, and he kidnaps Damon. In the present, Damon wakes up to Maxfield standing over him in the cell, and he says that he took Damon as a replacement for Jesse since he lost a test subject. Catherine's journaling, and she is like super annoyed and thinks it's really stupid and dumb, but she's doing it because Stefan is making her in order to help her stop fixating on dying. Stefan's fine now, because he's fixated on Catherine and he's trying to help her and ignoring his own problems. But Catherine knows that he's lying, so she called reinforcements in the form of Caroline, since Caroline's Stefan's like sober sponsor, you know, so she's like, you need help, I'm gonna help you. Also, I brought the safe, surprise, we're doing exposure therapy. Elena goes to see Aaron, and he's like, oh, did you hear what happened? And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, Jesse, my roommate, he died. And Elena is like, oh yeah, oh my God, Jesse, yeah, woo, I'm so sorry that happened. This scene in particular just really shows you how selfish Elena can be, because she came to see Aaron for like a completely different reason, even though she literally killed Jesse the night before. So like some part of her should have remembered and realized and been like, I can go get what I need from Aaron, but first I should ask him if he's okay. Last night you were literally concerned about the fact that all of his family's been murdered his whole life, and now another one of his friends is dead. A little compassion, Elena, would be nice. She actually came to ask him if he knows where Maxfield is because she can't find Damon and she knows that they were together the night before. Aaron's like, yeah, sure, I don't mind, it'll be a good distraction, and he agrees to help her. So like I said, Damon's original doctor was Dr. Whitmore, and he was running tests to like further science and like further research because the vampires have like the regeneration powers and their blood is healing. They were trying to figure out how they could like use the vampires to further human medical research. But when I say they were experimenting on them, I mean they were like cutting out parts of Damon's organs and watching them regrow, and cutting out his eyes and watching them regrow. Like, it's not, they're torturing them. Like, in no way is it humane. It's terrible, and there's a reason why Damon blocked it out. But Maxfield, in the present, explains that he's taking the research to a new level, i.e. turning the vampires into weapons against vampires. Aaron says that Jesse S-worded himself just like Megan, and he's like, it is kind of weird that they both did that because, you know, Jesse was like really happy and he was so integrated into school and he had a girlfriend, like it just doesn't make any sense, but I don't know what else to believe. And Elena is like, I'm gonna have to tell Aaron the truth because I can't let this idiot stay walking around thinking this nonsense. Elena drops on him that at least where Megan is concerned, She thinks Megan was murdered because she saw the body and it didn't make sense for Megan to have S-worded. That didn't track. And she knows that Maxfield forged the death certificate. So Erin is like, oh my God, that's way too much information. I'm gonna have to check his side of the story. And they go running to find Maxfield. They get to Whitmore House and he invites Elena in and she's able to cross the threshold. So Erin is Aaron Whitmore, and he's a trust fund baby. He's giving like a moody, artsy version of Logan from Gilmore Girls. Elena sees a picture of her dad with like another set of doctors in Whitmore House. And she's like, what's my dad doing here? Maxfield shows up, shoots her up with Vervain, and is like, Grayson Gilbert was one of the most amazing doctors that Augustine ever had. Stefan does not want to get inside the safe for exposure therapy time, but Caroline is like, honey, whatever you were doing before did not work, so we need to try my way. And Stefan like reluctantly agrees. Aaron's freaking out about Maxfield kidnapping Elena, and he's like, we're gonna get in trouble. You can't just kidnap people. And Maxfield is like, she's not people, Aaron. She's a vampire. And then he just drops all of the vampire lore on Aaron, and Aaron is so confused. Elena wakes up in a cell next to Damon, and he's like, I know where we are. I know what's going on. I know what's gonna happen to us because I've been here before. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I've never told anybody, you know, I kind of blacked it out. It was for 5 years. And she's like, 5 years of torture, Damon? How did you not lose your mind? And he's like, well, I made a friend. This is when we meet the man, the myth, the legend, Enzo. I love him. I love him. Oh my God, I love him so much. He is a moody British World War II soldier version of Damon, and he is the best. In flashbacks, we see some scenes of Damon and Enzo meeting, the boys being given like their little like cup of blood a day because they were given just enough to like keep them alive and keep their powers, you know, their healing stuff working, and they won't desiccate, but it's not enough for them to be like strong and healthy. Damon like chugs his every day, and Enzo's like, when you drink it, like you don't need to be drinking it that fast. You need to be thinking about like your future and like thinking about what you're working towards. When you just chug it, you're just like living for the moment. You're not thinking ahead. And they start talking about like revenge plans, because that's what's like getting Enzo through, is thinking about like what he's gonna do when he finally escapes. Elena's having a really hard time connecting the torture that Damon went through with her dad and her dad's work, because she's like, he was the town doctor, like he was kind. I can't imagine him doing this kind of stuff to vampires. It just doesn't make any sense. And Damon is like, I think it makes perfect sense, Elena, because most of the founding families like don't think vampires are human. Like there's nothing good about vampires. So even if your dad never would have treated a human like this, what's to stop him from treating a monster like that? Like if he thinks we're abominations, why would he care what he does to us? They have a really sweet moment where Damon like apologizes for getting her involved in this, and he like promises to get her out through the bars of their cell. It's very cute. They even hold hands through the cell bars. It's very emotional. Stefan is freaking out inside the safe. Okay, they've got him locked in there, and our boy is screaming, crying, throwing up. It's not going well. Outside the safe, Catherine and Caroline are just arguing away as if he's not losing his mind inside. And Catherine finally gets an idea and is like, I know what we need to do. Damon's still kind of lost in the sauce with his memories, and he's just explaining to Elena that his friendship with Enzo was really the only thing that kept him sane, because Damon would be like exhausted after torture and like just really struggling and like so close to giving up, and Enzo would just be like peppering him with questions and trying to get him to talk and trying to get them to bond and be friends. Enzo even told him about a girl that he loved named Maggie, who was a research assistant for the doctor. So they fell in love with each other while he was in the cell, and she was like taking notes on him outside of it. We see the doctor come in to get one of them, and even though Damon is like bleeding and clearly still in a lot of pain, the doctor picks him and is like, "You seem more energetic today, let's go." Enzo starts like rattling the bars of his cage, and he's like, "How dare you, like I'm stronger than he is, like take me instead, you wimp." So the doctor takes Enzo, which is just like, knife to the heart, because Enzo protected Damon, but then Damon has to sit in his cell and listen to Enzo scream, knowing that he was supposed to get taken. Like, the whole arc is just so good and so sad and so emotional. We get this shot of Damon behind bars. I have been gatekeeping, hiding this from you. I'm sorry. Now you can see it. We can look at it together. Oh my God. This is like peak Damon to me, okay? I don't make the rules. Elena wants to know how Damon got out, because remember, he was only there for 5 years. So what happened? What changed? He says that once a year there was like a party banquet situation where they would have the vampires chained up upstairs, they would drain them a little bit, and then they would cut the party goers and let them drink vampire blood to heal, so they would know like what they were researching. Enzo came up with a plan for one of the two of them to drink both the rations of blood for an entire year, and that way one of them would be fairly weak, but the other one would be strong enough to escape. They played rock, paper, scissors, and Damon won. Elena's like, "Okay, so that plan worked, right? That's how you got out?" And Damon's like, yeah, more or less, but he won't give her specifics on like what happened at the party. Maxfield is still letting Aaron go through all of the research and figure out everything for himself, and this is when Aaron realizes that his parents were killed by a vampire because of their connection with Augustine, and he's like, "So why was I left alive?" And Maxfield's like, "I don't know, you know, but now that you know everything, you can help me with my research and you can be a part of this." Aaron punches him in the face and then takes wooden bullets and a gun and goes running off downstairs. Stefan wakes up in the safe because he was so scared he passed out. Only now he's not alone. Catherine is in the safe with him. Stefan starts freaking out. He's like, "Absolutely not. I have to get out of here right now. I'm going to kill her." Because remember, Catherine's a human, so she is in danger. Catherine's like, "Don't you see? This is the only way to break the like anger PTSD connection in your head, because if you freak out right now, you're gonna kill me, so you gotta fight it." After Elena pushes him, Damon owns up about what happened at the party. He did in fact get stronger, and when they took him out of his cage to drain him a little bit for the cup so the people could drink his blood, he broke out of his handcuffs. And I'm talking like shackles, you know, like the thick ones. And not only did he break out, he broke his hands to get out, and then he holds his hand up and it like pops back into place. It's incredible, all right? It's gross, but it's so good. The doctor and the partygoers are horrified. He ends up clawing out Dr. Whitmore's eyes and then feeding off of him until he dies. And then he just goes from person to person, beating/killing all of them. He also knocks over a candelabra, so the room catches on fire. So in his killing frenzy, he forgot that he needed to let Enzo out. So when he doubles back to get Enzo out of his cage, the metal is too hot from the fire and they can't break it because there's vervain on the metal as well. Damon knew in that moment, looking at Enzo between the bars, that there was no way to get him out because of the vervain. And the fire was getting too big. So if he didn't go, he was gonna die. And he was afraid that if he stayed, something would happen and he would get recaptured and the plan would be for nothing and they would be screwed. So he had to make the decision to run. It broke Enzo. Enzo is freaking out, trapped inside the cage, like screaming for Damon. And Damon cared about Enzo so much that in order to leave, he had to turn his humanity off so that he wouldn't care about him and he could leave him behind. The scene of Damon with like the blank dead eyes walking away while Enzo just screams in the burning room behind him is so good. Like, it's top tier. This is really hard for Elena to hear. She's like, "Oh, that was really evil of you to do." In the safe with Catherine, Stefan is this close to losing his mind and killing her. But she is like, "Stefan, you've got to breathe. You've got to breathe and focus on the present moment. Are you gonna kill me or are you gonna save my life? You have to make a choice." I'm just gonna say it. Catherine loves Stefan, y'all. She really does. Like, their doppelgangers were meant to be together. I stand by that. I stand by that. I think vampire Stefan, vampire Catherine makes so much sense. I know he was scared of her when he was a human, but vampire Stefan, he's into Catherine. Like, they almost kiss in this scene. He's like on her neck about to bite her, and then he like lifts up and they're like this close to kissing. Caroline ruins it. She opens the safe and she's like, it got so quiet in there, I was worried. Like, are you guys okay? It's super awkward. But when Stefan gets out of the safe, he smiles at Caroline and she's like, oh my God, it worked. Like, I'm so glad. And they hug. So Stefan is quote unquote cured. I don't love the way that they're just like, yay, his PTSD is over and he'll never suffer with it again. Like, as somebody who struggles with it, it gets quote unquote better, but you're still gonna have times where it plagues you for like several days at a time. It doesn't just like go away magically and you never deal with it again. Also, over Caroline's shoulder while he's hugging her, he's making flirty eyes at Catherine. Aaron goes to see Damon and Elena in their cells, and he's freaking out because he's like, you lied to me, Elena. You've been a vampire the whole time. Like, vampires are the reason my family is dead. But Damon steps up and is like, Elena might be a vampire, but she's not the one who killed your parents. I am. And so yeah, his revenge plan was basically to kill the entire Whitmore family except for one person, and then let that person move on, start a new family, let that family grow, kill all of them, leave one alive, and just start that cycle over. He's just been doing that since the 50s. He's killed so many at this point that he doesn't even know how many. And Elena is like, oh my God, what's the last one you killed? Do you remember their name? And Damon's like, oh yeah, her name was Sarah. So the aunt that Aaron just lost the summer before they came to college, Damon killed her. Us and Elena at the same time realized that that means that he went and murdered someone while dating Elena. Like, while they were having their like perfect summer, he was still being a serial killer and she just didn't know. So Aaron shoots Damon. He's gonna be fine, but he's unconscious for now. Stefan and Catherine end up in the same room in the house. They are flirty vibes, okay? They are very into each other in this moment. He says she was actually right all along. He'd been focusing too much on the physical pain that he'd gone through, that he'd been ignoring the emotional pain. They end up getting closer and closer as they talk. And then they kiss. What? Like, I know we saw it coming, but every time I'm just like, oh my God, he's actually into this. This is actually happening right now. What is going on? Like, listen, I'm just gonna say it. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. Good for them. Good for them. But you know who is upset? You know who wishes she was anywhere else in this moment? Caroline Forbes, because she's downstairs trying to clean up from the therapy session and she just hears them hooking up with her vampire hearing. She's on the phone, I think with Elena, like leaving a voice message, and she just goes, oh my God, and she's horrified. Aaron's really upset with Maxfield for lying to him for so long, but Maxfield's like, look, everything's gonna be okay. You don't need to be worried. You know, I have everything under control now. You just go back to your normal life and carry on, and I will handle it. You don't have to be a part of this if you don't wanna be. Damon wakes up and Elena is not in the cell beside him anymore, and he starts freaking out. Elena wakes up strapped to a hospital table. We can't tell where she is, but it's definitely not the lab that we saw before. So like wherever Jesse was, that's not where we are anymore. It's almost like a basement. Someone's humming, and when she turns her head to look, Enzo is on the table next to her, and he's like, oh, hello, I'm Enzo. And then he just goes back to staring at the ceiling and like doing a little dance and humming his song. I would just like you to do some quick math in your brain and think about the fact that in 1953, Enzo had been there since 1943. It's now the 2000s. our boy's lost his mind. We're not gonna be able to help him find it. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates from me. I'm here on Fridays talking about the Vampire Diaries, and then on Mondays talking about Once Upon a Time, and we are planning on doing the spin-offs after those shows are done. Also, I did just want to remind you guys, for any new people watching, that I did open up memberships on the channel. I would love to know down below, any of you guys that are interested in either memberships or Patreon, like what are the things that you look for from creators when you look into those? Personally, for me, I love the idea of like early access for videos, or like watch parties, like where we could like maybe watch while I'm scripting my episodes. We could like be watching the show together. I think that could be really fun. But just let me know down below if there's anything that you would be specifically interested in, like seeing on one of those tier lists, because my YouTube ones are kind of set at this point, but I am planning on opening up Patreon as well, so I can kind of work with those a little bit more. I think it's easier to make those more flexible. So can't wait to talk to you guys this week. I hope you're all doing well and you're ready for a great weekend, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye.